Hey, you guys, I hope everybody is well. Um, I do not have a lot of time, so I want to go ahead and bang through these items, and I hope that this helps someone. You can always let me know down in the comment section, and definitely a like lets me know as well. Feel free to subscribe if you like this content and you want to see more. There's lots of videos on here to help you with shadow work, help you to heal inner childhood wounds, and definitely help you heal from narcissistic abuse. So I'm just going to jump right into this because, like I said, I don't have a bunch of time today to do this. So, what are some of the lessons that we should definitely be taking after narcissistic abuse? Now, I'm not saying that you'll have an issue with all these areas, but usually these are light bulb moments or things that we tend to figure out through this rough situation and these cycles of abuse. The first one on my list, you guys, is self-love is non-negotiable. When you're in a narcissistic abusive relationship, your self-love is definitely going to be tested. And hey, my Miracle 79, how are you doing today? Yes, I am definitely here. If anything, that relationship is definitely going to show you what you feel about yourself. So you'll definitely learn that you can't negotiate on stuff like that because those people, that's what they feed off of. If you have a shaky foundation with your self-love, your self-esteem, your self-care, they're going to exploit you for that and take advantage. So it's non-negotiable, and you should learn that after the fact. You got to keep that intact, and stay solid with that. Number 2, you guys, you shouldn't have to fight for love. This is a big one. Love shouldn't be hard. There has been some things in certain cultures where, you hear the terms like struggle love, and, you go through all of these cycles of ups and downs and instability. Like, real love shouldn't look like that. And although life is not a straight line, meaning anyone can face trials and tribulations, that's certainly different from having these ups and downs from a person seemingly respecting you one minute, disrespecting you another minute, like, attacking your core essence, or, taking you through the narcissistic cycle of abuse. That's completely different than two people living life together and experiencing this. Oh, this one fell ill, or they lost their job, or, you having a life event. That's completely different. So you shouldn't be fighting for someone to stay consistent with their attention and loyalty with you because they're cheating, or you shouldn't be fighting for somebody to just give you the mere respect that you would even give a stranger. Like, it's just certain things that just shouldn't be going on. You shouldn't have to even tell somebody that, you know if they didn't get that, they didn't learn that from their upbringing, or they was raised the right way and still want to act the wrong way. Regardless, like, it's certain things that you just shouldn't even have to tell level-minded adults, and that should be non-negotiable as well. Once you peep that in someone, it shouldn't even really be too many conversations, because some things just should be understood. All right, and that lets you know that person is not ready for a healthy relationship. And it's not up to you to get them ready, right? Number 3, you guys, no relationship is worth your peace of mind. Yeah, that's a big one, because I know in those narcissistic abuse relationship, they're attacking your peace, and it throws you off balance in so many ways usually. So no relationship that is ordained in your life, no relationship that is supposed to be propelling you forward necessarily, is supposed to be taking your peace of mind. Now, what I will say is, yes, learning about what you don't want by going in the wrong direction, you can learn that way as well. So this person is stealing your peace of mind and making you really uncomfortable and feeling that pain, it can be used as a catalyst. But if you know better to begin with, why subject yourself to going through all of that anyway? You know what I'm saying? So really, no relationship is worth your peace of mind. But because human beings can learn through pain, it doesn't have to be a waste. And that's why we're taking these lessons to begin with. But if you already have them, then you don't have to go through that. Once you understand it, like, this person is interrupting my peace. They're throwing me off balance. This is something that I need to pay attention to and readjust to. Number 4, you guys, being too nice just gets you played. So, of course, being too agreeable, that means you'll be going with a narcissist plan, even if it isn't exactly what you want it to do. So being in a people pleaser energy and putting that relationship on a throne, or basically going too far above and beyond to maintain this relationship, being too nice, not really speaking up for yourself. It's just got you taken advantage of more. So I don't even really like the word nice like that anymore. I don't know if it's just because, we're in this community. Like, I'll say, look, I'm a good person. Don't take me as too nice now. I'm a good person. But I feel like nice is one of those words, like people get exploited for that, But being too nice, I just had to put it that way. It definitely will get you played with them. They're not going to think, oh, this is a nice person. Let me be nice to them. Oh, I got a live one. Let me see how far I could take this, is what's going to happen. Number 5, you guys, face value can be deceiving. We got to throw that out there, because the one thing that you need to take from narcissistic abuse for sure is that narcissists make good first time impressions. Like, they're really good at making an initial impression usually, right? And that's why the cycle of abuse starts with the love bomb. So although there are times where the face value of something that you're perceiving it at that face value is probably what it is, but when you're dealing with a narcissist, there is more beneath the surface, and whatever they're presenting is probably the opposite. So, that's up to you to increase your emotional maturity and to be able to figure out when you should be taking something at face value per se and when not. I'm not really one to take too many things at face value, honestly, especially in this world of like the internet, where people can, make themselves look any kind of way. And we like the couples, all these happy couples that end up breaking up, and then the real story comes out, right? Which is why you shouldn't be putting people on a throne anyway. But be careful about the face value of things. And when you're taking it a narcissist face value, that means you're going to extend more trust than they deserve to have, if they deserve to have any trust at all, right? Number 6, you guys, confusion without clarity is toxicity. Like if you have to guess too much, like somebody's inconsistencies are all over the place. 1 minute they seem present in a relationship, the next minute they're not, unreliability, like anything that's bringing confusion into your life, that has to be a red flag. And especially if it's confusion without clarity. And that's why I had to say it that way, because, people can have misunderstandings, but we're talking about narcissists right now. The confusion that they're bringing into your life, because the sheer cycle of abuse will create confusion. And that confusion is to their benefit, because they're not really trying to have stability with you. They're trying to bring you down into their energy. And they thrive off of confusion, because they can be doing one thing with the left hand and another with the right. And if they can keep the confusion to a point where part of the confusion is you seeing them in a positive light or wanting to give them the benefit of the doubt, then that leaves, space for them to continue to manipulate you. So confusion is not good. Be careful of anything that's just giving you too much, that's just creating confusion, period. Like, you're going to be careful with that. Number 7, endings or redirections. If people want to leave, let them leave. And emotional maturity, I've been saying this for years, we can't be like one-dimensional on endings. Like, people get really negative about them. Like, a chapter closes, everybody's so sad, or you might be fighting against it or being in resistance. And, that's closing for a reason. because an ending creates a new beginning. That's how you have to look at it. Anytime there's an ending, a door is shutting in your face for this reason, that means you're being redirected and you're supposed to have a new beginning somewhere else. Now, when you fight against that, then you drag out the cycles of pain and the cycle of abuse, which tends to be painful, right? You stretch out your suffering. It didn't have to be all of that, but because you were so invested and you were in so much of resistance, look, let grown people do what they want to do. Let's get to the point where we're very solid within ourselves to where you're an adult just like me. I only want to interact with people who sincerely want to be in my presence. Don't do me no favors. You don't have to do me any favors. I only want sincere interactions. And if you sincerely don't want to be here, then you can go, and I wish you the best. Like, don't be so attached once somebody is leaving. Now, all of these, their cycle of abuse where they're discarding and then coming back and love bombing. Now, every time somebody's leaving you and think they get the chance to come back again after they took you for granted, something's wrong with that. Something's wrong with that. I'll have to be the one that got away forevermore because I'm going to have to believe what you're showing me at this point. If you ain't have enough common sense to foster it, you gave them the time, you're getting to know each other, you're vetting each other, you're showing them who you are, and they still took the gamble, then you're going to have to stand by that, just like I'm going to stand by my worth and my value as well. So, endings or redirections. But, obviously when they're ending, it's not a permanent ending. But that's a gamble that they're taking because lo and behold, it's a permanent ending for me, baby. So I guess you underestimated that, right? Number 8, you guys, time you don't get back, right? And this is why we don't want to get stuck in these cycles of abuse. You'll think back to the energy and the time that you put into this narcissist, and you're going to start, or you should be valuing your time more moving forward. So when other people start showing you these signs, it should trigger you back to these memories, and it's going to get your attention. And then you won't be spending, hopefully, as much time entertaining this situation as you did in the previous ones. Because you can see time you don't get back. Anything else you could potentially get back. Money, you can get back, material things, right? But the time, you don't get it back. And some people spent a lot of time with a narcissist. And they're very regretful about that in the end. So, number 9, you guys, love wouldn't make you a sacrificial lamb. That's a big one. Now, love can sacrifice, but a sacrifice and a sacrificial lamb are two different things. So, gauging how much of a sacrifice, just taking things situationally. Oftentimes with narcissists, it may be sacrifices right off the rip. So just gauge, how much somebody really has earned for you to go out on a limb for them. And do they really appreciate it? And are they willing to go out on a limb for you? Or have they gone out on a limb for you? And we're talking about in a non-charitable sense. But when we're talking about narcissists, they want you to make all the sacrifices for them. While they don't make any sacrifices, they're not changing, they're not growing, they're not rising up to the occasion. They're not trying to be consistently healthy. They'll be consistently unhealthy with the cycle of abuse. So being a sacrificial lamb for others is usually a bad look. I wouldn't say 99.9%. Number 10, you guys, reciprocation is non-negotiable. I'm sure that you'd never want to be in a relationship again where you're not being reciprocated. Like, that has to be such a turn off by now. Like, you're putting into someone else and they're just making withdrawals and they're not depositing back appropriately. And it's not about tit for tat, but it's about being equally yoked. And it's about someone valuing you as you valuing them. And it's about someone making the effort, the same effort that you're willing to make for them. That's a bad feeling, to feel like you would go to the end of the world for someone and they won't even come to their front door for you. That's very lopsided. So that has to be non-negotiable. That has to be non-negotiable. All right. And then sometimes just be careful engaging yourself, especially to those of you who are big givers and stuff, starting out so with grand gestures with people and doing really huge things right off the rip in the relationship. Just be careful. Just be careful, because then you might be actually just setting yourself up in that case, right? Number 11, you guys, it's necessary to have boundaries, especially with those you love. You know, at a certain point with that narcissist, if it was a romantic, you know, you grew to love this person, whether they actually loved you back or not. But the boundaries were completely weak, right? They would have to be in order for that narcissist to want to stay with you. They need to be able to be codependent with you, which means the boundaries are pretty much non-existent. Or the boundaries are whatever they're setting. You're just going with it, being toxic with them. PL says, thank you for the wise advice. Much needed. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I know, like, we're in a real world and there's millions of people, billions, excuse me, and everyone hasn't, you know, completed cycles of abuse, or everyone's at different stages in this. So just because I've been there and done that, there are people today learning about narcissistic abuse, people today who just left or had their first discard, or someone today is getting love bombed somewhere. You know, like, it's just, everybody is everywhere with this, because it's not going anywhere. But the more we can promote and, you know, each one teach one and spread the word, raise the vibrations where enough people on the planet know that they're not having the upper hand. All right. Number 12, standards are necessary as well. So boundaries and standards are two different things. Your standards will help set the boundaries, if you want to look at it that way. Your standards are specific things that you'll accept or won't accept. You know, just like when you fill out a dating profile, they may ask you, do you want to date someone with kids or not? Do you want someone that has a certain level of education or a certain religion? Those are standards that you're setting right there. So sometimes we're, especially empathics, we might be a little bit too much of a free-for-all, where we'll give anybody a chance. Well, they seem like a good person, but they come with this really messy background, which should be like a complete red flag. Like, you don't need to be the test dummy to see if this person is really turned over a leaf when they are coming from a really messy past. Does it mean that the person didn't change? No, but it should be high risk for you, especially if you've been in narcissistic abuse relationships. So having standards is okay. You can't just be, well, if they want to give me a chance, I'll give them a chance. But should you be giving them a chance? That's not enough just because they're interested. Like, okay, tell me a little bit about yourself. What do you stand for? Where are you at in your life? And then also understanding that you could be meeting a person's representative. They could be lying to you, stretching the truth. Like, it's up to you to really start to figure these things out. And often with narcissists, they will expose themselves over time if you pay attention. If you're willing to pay attention and be insightful and see all of the communication and not just lean on verbal communication, which isn't on my list, but we can just throw that in there. You know, you can't limit yourself to, well, they told me, you know, they're telling you one thing and they're doing another, right? So we're looking at people's body language, their eye contact, and we're looking at their behaviors and their patterns as well. Like, people do tell on themselves, but you got to be willing to pay attention and not want to have to wear those rosy glasses because they're telling you what you want to hear. Meanwhile, behind here, they're doing this, you know? And at that point, it's not even really about calling them out. Just make the readjustments to your relationship with them, whether it's completely cutting them off or only dealing with them in a certain way, depending on the connection. Number 13, abandoning yourself for a relationship is a huge no-no, because that's what you will end up having to do. Because when you're with a narcissist, it's like my way or the highway, you know, and they want to, whatever their image of you is, that's what they want you to take on. You know, it's very questionable at times if they're really getting to know the real you a lot of times, because that's how they end up underestimating their own quote unquote supply or the people that they're targeting. And that's how you have the upper hand, because they live in so much illusions themselves. So, or they're overinflate what they perceive you to be to their detriment a lot of times. PL says, narc abuse is hell. Some did not survive it. Some of us would never know how they really think if it were not for the sharing of information like this. I have a neighbor who moved into the block. Okay. Is your neighbor, and you think your neighbor is narcissistic? But yeah, it is hell. And unfortunately, you're right. There are some people who didn't survive it. That's why, you really have to take it serious, because things can escalate. And there's tends to be a lot of mental instability, with narcissists and other mental illnesses that they may or may not even be acknowledging or getting treatment for. Very sad. Number 14, you guys, if you don't take the lessons and do the work, you'll just be on the merry-go-round. So this one goes without saying. When you're staying in denial, you're, taking the gaslight, the illusions and delusions, running off of the trauma bonds and soul ties. You're not taking those lessons appropriately. You'll just be repeating cycles, and that sucks, because it gets worse and worse. Like, anyone will tell you, when they go back for another cycle of abuse, it was worse than before. PL says, and they started to visit me regularly and invite me to dinner, but I have not let them into my home because apart from a bit of clutter, it is my space. And even if they are nice, right. You don't have to be buddy with them. Or just because you have a new neighbor doesn't mean, you guys have to be BFFs now. So you can have boundaries about it and maintain it as you please, and not feel pressured to do things their way. I mean, maybe in the last neighborhood they lived in, things were a certain way with their neighbors, and perhaps they're trying to do it with you. But, if you're not comfortable with that, you have every right to make your boundary, and you never know, because you really don't know them. So number 15, you guys, you shouldn't put people on the thrones, right? I've definitely done a lot of coaching sessions with people who they made like this relationship their everything. This narcissist was kind of like their everything. And no human being should be your everything, period. Period. Like, they're just imperfect people, even more so. Goodness. With their evil attachments and just being in their dark shadow side to their detriment. Like, they're nobody to be putting on no thrones now. Number 16, you guys, no contact is best. And you should learn that, because anything else, that they bait you into as far as arguments to try to get you to lose your temper or be unsavory or get yourself in trouble, or just still to drain you of your energy, really. It could be that simple, or to get negative supply from you. No contact is always going to be best, because you avoid all of that. Not only that, it actually bothers them to feel invalidated, because you showing emotions, even if it's the negative kind. Mama, Yeah, like I was saying, no contact is best. It just prevents them from being able to bait and switch with you or to even trigger yourself, honestly, because you think you can handle this interaction with them. And by the end of the argument, you totally regret it. You're feeling zapped of your energy because they're energy vampires, and you're regretting that you even had an exchange with them. And then it might even make you feel like you're starting over at day one because mentally you know that you broke your communication. So it's not even worth it. Just think of, all the cons to that. Number 17, you guys, no external relationship can define your worth. Yet again, in a lot of coaching sessions, people were falling apart because of the verbal abuse and all the psychological abuse that they experienced in that relationship where the person was putting them down. And we'll put this in quote, making them feel less worthy, making them feel this, making them feel that. And my emotional maturity, you guys, you have to give someone permission to make you feel that way. Someone's poor treatment of me is not going to make me feel less than. It's going to make me look at them as they don't have manners or they're not valuing me appropriately, which is okay. Thanks for revealing that to me. Now I don't have to deal with you. You don't have to be a part of my life. But no external person or relationship should be defining your worth. And that's why the word self is in front of all of those words. Self-care, self-love, self-worth. Like self is in front of that. So no one else should be defining it anyway. But a lot of times when we're not in the best energy and we're not emotionally mature, we're defining ourselves by how other people treat me. Oh, they're isolating me from the group, or they're, not including me, or they're giving me the silent treatment, or this person dumped me, or that's their loss, like when you're solid from within, it's their loss. And then you'll be thankful that they showed you, because the last thing we need is more drama in our life, more fake and phony people. Thanks for exposing yourself, because it's even worse when someone is smiling and pretending. I'd rather you just show me. At least what you see is what you get, But with narcissists, they'll show you that and then try to come back around and love bomb you. And then that's the confusion that should not be okay, that we talked about already. Don't let them cause that confusion. Believe the poor behavior over, oh man, I need to go make up with this person so I can continue to use them some more, or I can, get them back where I need them to be so I can manipulate them some more, or whatever the case is. No external relationship should be defining your worth. And I've said it a million times, if the whole world is against you, can you still be for yourself? Can you still be for yourself? PL says, I don't have to do the same things they did for me. I gave what I want to. I gave many gifts, but privacy is sacred. Absolutely. You can sense when someone wants to do the same as them, but Jesus said to give to those who cannot do the same for you, and not just those who can return the favor. Right. And that's as far as the charity part. Yeah. Yep. You can definitely have charity. But yeah, I mean, if they chose to do something out of quote unquote the sincerity of being neighbors, then fine. They shouldn't be having those expectations on you to do the same back, Number 18, you guys, God is always your best ally, always. So, there could have been an abandonment of spirituality, or falling off with it, or, putting so much time in a relationship that you weren't meditating the same, you weren't praying the same, you weren't, connecting to source the same. So he's always going to be your best ally, period, because it is a spiritual attack, narcissistic abuse. So never forget that, and always, maintain that. No matter you fall in love with somebody else or somebody new come into your life, don't let that change your relationship with the source. Meditating and praying and all that stuff needs to stay intact, because then that's putting a person on the throne again. Number 19, You have more options and even better options. Again, with the coaching sessions, man, there have been, people get stuck in the cycle of abuse for many reasons. We already talked about in other videos how the trauma bond operates and how we're releasing hormones with that. Yes. So that's pretty binding when you're not in no contact and you're actively breaking that addiction. But another thing is people aren't seeing where their life is better, so they're holding on to this really toxic relationship when being by yourself is automatically better in that case. But when there's codependency going on, being by yourself is not favorable. Codependent people are typically relationship junkies, and they don't like to be alone. They don't enjoy, they haven't tapped in with themselves enough because they're tapping too much externally. This is a person that's breaking up with the next person. Next person is never no downtime. They always have to be preoccupied with others instead of enjoying solitude, enjoying the quietness, enjoying their own company, becoming their own best friend. So if it is a period or a season in life where, it's not your time for this or that, then you can embrace it and be fulfilled and productive in what you need to be doing, because those times are valid as well. Life is not just one-dimensional, but codependent people, they're very one-dimensional. They have to be in a relationship. They have to be tied to somebody else. It can't just be the relationship with themselves. And that's a problem, because then you get desperate. You might jump into things too quickly, and there are seasons where you need to focus on yourself, and having another person could be a distraction. So source might actually want you to stay single so that you can focus on refining yourself or getting your career off the ground or getting a project completed, and things that when you're trying to manage a relationship, it gets a lot more hectic. Ask a new married couple or something how their life was when they were single, and now they're married, and now they started having kids. It's so hard for them to have the time management to get into all of the projects and stuff. They have to really go out of the way and really make the time for that. It's a lot more challenging because you're juggling more things in a positive manner. But it's never going to be a better option to stay in an abusive relationship, period. That's why as soon as you remove yourself from them, you're automatically doing better, whether you feel better or not. But whether you feel better doesn't mean you're not doing better. Now, what if let's just make this to another example. Let's say I had to get an operation. Someone had to get an operation to remove something so that they could be well again or something. Now, coming out of the operation, I feel like shit because I have to heal from the operation, but the operation removed what it needed to remove. So whether you feel better or not, you're already better. The same as we leave the narcissistic abusive relationship, the trauma bond and these soul ties and the romantic ones, your emotions haven't caught up to your logic. So you're still, just like I don't want to say someone that's addicted to drugs or alcohol. When you first stop, you're going to feel a withdrawal. But I keep using the word feel, but you're automatically doing better because every day without abusing your body with the substances, you're giving it time to start to cleanse itself and get readjusted to not having that, right? Just like every day and no contact, you're helping to redirect your brain and to not be so codependent on the cycle of abuse and all of the hormones and dopamines that it was releasing through all of that chaos. So you have more options and better options, but you need to see it, But if you're having tunnel vision, and that can happen with depression, which these relationships can throw you into one, or if you're only seeing things one-dimensionally, because you're just, once you put that relationship in a box, it's hard for you to take it out of that category. If you're one of those people that it's not easy for you to adjust to things as needed. Like, man, I thought you were this, But now I see our relationship is evolving into that. And instead of going with that, I'm going to try to force it to stay in the box that I put it in. And that's not the box where it needs to be, you know? But you have to be able to see your more options and better options. And being by yourself can't be a punishment. It can't be this negative, horrible thing. Single can't be a plague. It can't, you know, like when you make it that way, it's going to be hard for you to let go of people that you need to let go of. Because you've already made that better than anything else. All right. Number 20, you guys, you'll realize that you were the prize, right? And I'm not saying that out of egotisticalness, but you were providing something to this toxic person that was rescuing them from their own darkness in a certain sense. Like you were filling their cups with something. It wasn't for you to be doing it. That's why it was draining you. You were filling their cups where they should have been filling their own cups. And vice versa. You were letting them fill your cup where you should have been filling your own cup. And, you know, just like no one else should be defining your self-worth, your cup should be filled by you. And then other people can help it overflow. But my cup is never going to be in a deficit. And the cup is your happiness and your peace, your contentment, your satisfaction in life. That's your cup. Just for clarification, you should fill that up yourself. That way, no one else can really strip me of that. They can help it overflow, but they can't strip it from me. PL says, you can sense, okay, we did read that one already. You said, someone I caught up with at a funeral who was single with a child told me that I should have a child, but she is not active, but was questioning if I am celibate. I am grateful for what I have. Well, that was intrusive. How she jumped from you should have a child to trying to find out if you're sexually active. Some people, PL says, some people do not even have food and water. Let's be thankful for what we have. Absolutely. Absolutely. You're right. And some people, you know, their minds get so out of whack in these relationships, they can't even see that part of it. Like there are children dying of thirst today or somewhere, you know, like people are having really messed up situations. Trust me, leaving a situation you need to leave anyway is not the worst of your life, you know, but you have to think of it as you're talking to someone who's in an active addiction at that point. You know, being in that relationship is a sort of addiction. And just like someone who's stopping cigarettes, alcohol and drugs, sex, gambling, you know, we can be addicted to a lot of things. Their minds aren't exactly, and their perceptions aren't exactly correct. You know, they have some work to do with that, or else they wouldn't be in the addiction, right? So number 21, you guys, what's meant for you is meant for you. So, you know, how many of us forced the issue in these relationships? And what did that give you? More cycles of abuse. And the inevitable is still going to happen. So we can't really stop the inevitable. You know, that relationship has an end date. Now, if you want to stretch it out and suffer a little longer, but it's still going to end, you're still going to have to give it up. But how much damage is, you know, mentally, psychologically, financially, physically, how much more damages do you want to have on your plate to have to clean up after that? Number 22, you guys, believe them the first time, right? Right. In a perfect world, they would never get past that. If they even had to go through one cycle of abuse, it would never go past that. In a perfect world, of interacting with them. Or maybe you would figure it out in a love bomb. So, but either way, like it wouldn't be like this redundant thing. Believe them the first time. And what's happening here is people are having the confusion that I mentioned earlier because they're thinking about the love bomb and now they're thinking about this devalue and discard. So think about the devalue and discard, okay? So if the person's immature, if they didn't get their way, now you're this, now you're that. or, whatever they're doing, see that immaturity for what it is. Number 23, you guys, loving them ain't enough. Or, investing more is not the solution. And, this is when someone's working harder to try to make the relationship work better. You have to take that lesson. Like, if I gave you this and you couldn't appreciate that, why should I be doubling it up? Why should I be bending over that much more? Why should I be giving you access to that much more of my my heart, my love, my energy, my generosity? Like, why am I giving you more when you didn't appreciate what you already got so far? Why should that person be getting more? Why? No. So a lesson that we're going to learn, like, man, I kept giving, I kept pouring, I was being too generous in many ways, being generous with forgiveness. There's a lot of non-monetary, psychological, mental things that we could be generous with, and being overly generous. And all they did was just eat that up in the worst way, to your detriment. So giving somebody more when they already didn't appreciate what you already extended to them, that's not going to trigger them into, seeing your investments. How many times have you done that and the person devalued that, or didn't even value that appropriately, put it down, or didn't even give you credit for it at the end? So loving somebody harder, investing more, that's got to be a lesson that we're taking. Let me see. I think I went through my list here. Let me catch up with what you said, PL. PL says, which is good because I literally have like 5 more minutes to be on here. Some people do not even have food and water. Okay. So I did catch up with you. Okay. All right. Well, at the end of the day, you guys, the main thing is to take the lessons. And it doesn't have to be a loss, even though, yes, I did point out time you can't get back. But life is a classroom. If you are taking the lessons, you can learn through it. It's called learning through the school of hard knocks, right? You ever heard that phrase before? It just means like I learned through my experience, and you can learn through the experience. And hopefully you've learned all of these things, because it really helps you moving forward to be incredibly, incredibly less susceptible to fall into these situations. Now, there is a measuring stick, with narcissists, and some are more craftier than others. Some are more sneakier and slicker than others. That's why you might hear new level, new devil, right? You might meet a sneakier narcissist or a more sophisticated one. And that can happen. And that's why you need to always continue to refine yourself. Because, you've outgrown that kind of narcissist, but there could be a bigger one out there. So we just always have to really keep making those deposits within ourselves and stay solid on that, because, like I said, new levels, new devil. That's just how it is. Learning this stuff, it won't guarantee that you won't meet a narcissist. They're all over the place. There are people that are narcissistic or narcissists, but, their ability to be able to penetrate your life in a certain way will be severely, it'll be more challenging for them. It'll be more challenging, and that's what you want. Challenging and damn near impossible would be great, PL says they want to devalue what you do so that you have kept on your toes trying to impress them with the next gesture. True. Yeah. They want to trigger you for that. And just, be careful of that. People could trigger you for all types of reasons. They could trigger you because they're actually manipulating you, or they can trigger you because it could remind you of something that you went through that you're still sensitive about, So you'll know if someone's triggering you and it could be on purpose or just subconsciously, it's up to your emotional maturity and self-awareness to understand these triggers, because you could be simply triggered by someone else who lost a relative, because someone else lost their mother, you had lost your mother. It's triggering because you lost your mother. Like, obviously, that's different. But there are manipulation tactics, and maybe we'll do a live chat about that. We'll talk more. Let's talk about some of these manipulation tactics. That's a good live chat, don't you guys think? I'll start making some notes about it. And because it's already Thursday, this week flew by. I don't know about you guys, but it really flew by. But yeah, I'm going to put it on my to-do list, you guys, so that we'll do a live chat about manipulation tactics and go over that, because that's going to be good to know as well. But other than that, you guys, I am going to have to be going. I did want to jump in here and talk to you guys because I know it's been a few days, right? And I don't want to be away from the channel too much, for sure. So make sure you hitting the subscribe and the like. Let me know how you feel about the content. You can always let me know if you would like me to address something in a live chat. I'll do it, if I think we should. You can email me at coachlakia@gmail.com. I do have a website, you guys, where I still offer coaching sessions, which is lakiacrawford.com. I've been doing this for years, and I've coached people on every continent and helped so many people through their hard situations. So I'm more than happy to help you as well. Other than that, keep doing the work, and congratulations to everyone who's even to the point where they're taking their lessons. It's called growth. It's called I'm never going back there again. It's called been there and done that. It's called a better version of you, right? All right, you guys, I love you. Keep investing in yourself, right? Because trust me, there are narcissists out there that they try to study. They try to study their crafts, But they gonna meet the wrong one when they meet someone off of this channel. I want it to be that way. Let you be the one that always got away. Okay? I love you guys, and I will definitely see you in the next live chat. Take those lessons.